comparing yourself to other people is happening because you believe that these people are doing better than you. You believe that they are succeeding because they have something that you don't have, like talent, skill, knowledge, or even, you know, intelligence or whatever. They began before you, they had better luck, they worked harder. Whatever you think is the advantage that they have over you, you still are moving in a way that does not match the level of how low your self esteem is. You want the same results that they have, and you want to take yourself seriously, and you want everything to be perfect. You want the quality of your work, and the production quality, and the message, and everything to be just as good as theirs. But still, you don't believe you are as good as these people. Let me point out a few things that are, contradictory when it comes to your belief system in this case. You think that you are lesser than them in terms of how qualified you are to get the same results that they are getting, to get the same success that they have. Yet, you believe that you deserve these same results that they got and the same level of success that they have. That's the first thing that doesn't make sense. Second, you want to have the same level of lack of mistakes and high production quality and high, message quality and everything to be amazing, just as it is for these people who are currently more successful than you are. Despite you having that kind of low self-esteem when it comes to how qualified or good you are at accomplishing these objectives, you think you can't do it, and yet you still want to get the same results, which means you have the same high standards of perfectionism and lack of mistakes and taking yourself seriously and high ambition and wanting everything to be amazing and great and perfect, despite you being in a position, at least at the moment, that is way behind them in terms of success. You still have high self-esteem and high sense of self-worth and a high self-image of yourself, despite you being like at 0 point. You are still way behind them when it comes to how successful you are. Like, you are comparing yourself to the most successful of people and you think you're one and the same. You're both equals, and you should treat yourself the way they treat themselves and the way you regard them as well. So you hold that high regard for them, and you want to hold that same kind of high regard with all what comes with it, like standards and perfectionism, and everything should be good, and even the quality of your life. You want to have the same standards that you have no problem that these people set for themselves or have for themselves. That still doesn't make sense. Let me clarify that a little bit. The lifestyle of someone who is, like a billionaire, for example, will never be the same as the lifestyle of someone who has a minimum wage. You want to live with the same standards and the same quality of life just as someone who's a multimillionaire. That doesn't make sense. You are still at a stage where you can't afford to do these things that they do, like without even thinking about it. Your reluctance to make mistakes is because you have a very high self image of yourself that doesn't match the current level of success that you have right now. You think it's not okay to make mistakes despite you being still a nobody. That is a problem. Like, you are still nothing. And still, yet, you think it's a disaster if you make any kind of mistake. Like, any kind of mistake when it comes to your content. I'm talking about what you create, what you produce, what you put out there. Like, any kind of mistake. Like, even scientific mistakes. Something that you change your opinion about. Something that you no longer believe to be the case. Like, you're not allowed to do this. Everything should be flawless from the start. Everything should be perfect from the start. This is not just perfectionistic tendencies at this point. This is you really thinking that you deserve to have no mistakes from the start because you have a very high sense of self-image. You have a very high self-esteem that doesn't match the current level. You're delusional at this point. It doesn't match the current level that you are at right now. The problem is, I'm not, putting you down. I'm not attempting to criticize you and tell you to quit. But you really think like you are as tough as any of these guys, who are, significantly tougher than you? Like, you went to the gym once and you think you're Dwayne Johnson? You played basketball for an hour and you think you're LeBron James? You're really comparing yourself to the best of the best and wondering why you always feel disappointed in yourself. You're always frustrated. You will never accomplish anything that you set yourself out to accomplish. You have very big dreams. I respect that. There is nothing wrong with this. But you expect too much out of yourself. You are expecting way more than you can handle at the moment. Because you have the same standards that highly successful people have set for themselves, and you also have no problem with them having those standards for themselves. But why are you setting those same standards for yourself from the start when you're still starting out? This is what it means by your first 50 videos will suck. This is what it means. Even if you're amazing, even if you're articulate, even if you are creative, even if you are good at editing, they have to suck. Because you are way behind compared to your own full potential. You haven't realized how far you are from your true potential. When you come close to what you're truly capable of, your full potential, you can start worrying about whether or not you really have what it takes. But you have zero training, you have zero experience, zero practice, and you've done nothing, and yet you hold yourself to. You still have those perfect or very high standards for yourself. Whenever you fall short of these standards, you tend to feel frustrated and disappointed in yourself. And you think about quitting, and you think about you not having the talent, and you start criticizing yourself. This is where the majority of the negative self-talk that you suddenly find yourself bombarded with after posting anything comes from. This is why you really feel bad instead of feeling like at least okay. I don't want to feel good after posting. I just want to feel normal. The same way that I used to feel before posting. But the problem is that is rarely the case. You always feel significantly worse after you post a piece of content. And if you tried to listen to what the content of that negative self-talk is, you will find that it revolves around the fact that you don't have what it takes. You are not good enough. And you immediately jump to, oh yeah, it's imposter syndrome. Oh yeah, everybody has imposter syndrome. Like even, Jennifer Lopez struggled with imposter syndrome, as if you and Jennifer Lopez are equals. That is your problem again. Like, you are comparing yourself to people like Jennifer Lopez, very insanely highly successful people, and you have like zero success, and you are saying, oh yeah, since she has imposter syndrome and I also have imposter syndrome, then it's totally normal. It's not my fault. Like, it happens. No wonder why the self-loathing gets exacerbated at this point. It will You keep telling yourself, oh yeah, my self-esteem is too low. Compared to what? Like, as opposed to what? Who doesn't have low self-esteem at your stage? Why do you expect to have no low self-esteem when you're still starting out? You have a very big ego. A lot of people quit on every single aspiration they have just because they are too afraid to start small, because it's an insult to their sense of self-importance. How come they are starting out when they are that huge? When in reality, there's nothing to back that up. They're really nothing. Why are you still concerned for how good you look when you haven't accomplished something that indicates that you are really that good? It is a problem to have self-esteem that is not backed up in reality. When the real world doesn't reflect that what amount of self-confidence or self-esteem you have for yourself is true or based upon a reality, you are going in the direction of delusion. Why is that bad? Because you will keep having no problem with being bad, because you can always tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm the best there is. Like, I'm missing nothing. You will always tell yourself this despite being shit, despite being bad. Why would you ever improve? Why would you ever learn? If you think there's nothing to learn here, you will learn nothing from here. Like if you opened a book and said, there's nothing for me to learn in this book, you will come up with nothing new after finishing the entire book. Not even the benefit of just reading something. Because you think there's nothing for you to learn. If you think there's no further room for improvement, why would you get any better? So if you have that short circuit of telling yourself, I'm amazing, without doing anything to back that up, without that being grounded in reality and how good you really are in real life, you can be insanely bad at everything and not notice. Because you can always counter that by throwing a positive affirmation and telling yourself, you're enough, you're good, you're amazing. There's nothing wrong with you and you're missing nothing. And now you get that self-confidence high up and self-esteem, over the roof or very high. And since now your self-esteem does not need you to actually be good, you can elevate that self-esteem to the maximum, to be like as high as you want it to be. What happens after this is that you start developing very perfectionistic standards for yourself. Your standards are too perfect. Let's assume that there's nothing called too perfect. Let's assume that your standards are just perfect and matches every single successful individual that you're comparing yourself to. And because of that comparison, you're disappointed in yourself. Let's assume that this is the standard that you set for yourself, insanely high. Why would that be a problem, since your self-esteem is colossal at this point? Your self-esteem is very high. Why having such a very high standard for yourself and very insanely high expectations for what you can accomplish? Why would that be a problem if your self-esteem is really that high and can be high from nothing without doing anything to back that assumption or belief about yourself enough, without doing anything to make sure that this is based upon reality, not just something that you made up because you're awesome without even trying. If you're awesome when you're 20, why would you build yourself to become a person who really is better than you were yesterday when you're like 25? Imagine that you are like arrested at 20 and you remained like this for the rest of your life. You cannot be better than what you were when you were 20. You really think you will be that good when you're like 35? Impossible. Because you think you peaked at 20. You cannot top that. We're not talking about just some limiting beliefs that don't matter here. We're talking about something very deep and complex. I noticed that I have almost zero expectations when it comes to what I can accomplish. I always have no problem with pointing out that, yeah, what I did here sucks. What I did here is horrible. I have other people, like almost everybody else, telling me that this is dangerous and I shouldn't do that because it's gonna enter my subconscious and program me into believing that I'm bad, and it would always make everything that I do even worse. I should believe that my videos are like the best there is, even though they sucked. I find that to be a red flag. Like, I should give pause. Seconds will go by. Why do you believe that I should believe that my videos are good when I know for a fact that they are bad? In terms of production quality, at least. The message is good, but the production quality is like the worst ever. And also, the message, yeah, it could have been better. I know that. I compare it to my work in other areas, and I believe that I currently can do better. And I know what's holding me back. It's because I'm not good enough on camera. I'm not good enough at speaking. What's the answer to this is that I keep improving in that area until I can start judging myself and wonder whether or not I'm really good on camera. I gotta give myself a chance to get enough training before I start judging myself decisively. But what happens here is that people like panic at the thought of criticizing themselves even though they know they are doing something that is of very bad quality, that deserves to be criticized and judged. They're not trying to learn anything. It's like an untouchable area. You shouldn't talk negatively about yourself, no matter what. That is a problem. That is a problem. You cannot improve if you think everything that you do will always be perfect from the start or from the first attempt, no matter what, even if you've had zero training or practice or previous experience before doing it. You will always remain at 0 point if you think you are 100% good without even trying, because we are enough and we are perfect and there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us when it comes to other people criticizing us and you believing that their criticism is based upon your true nature. Like, people are pointing out stuff in you that doesn't exist. People are telling you that you suck or you're bad because of stuff that is not true. This is the case when you shouldn't listen to their feedback or any feedback of that nature. And then you can respond by saying, no, there's nothing wrong with me. All these things are not true. I am enough. I'm even perfect. Because these people are pointing out these flaws in you because they are insecure about themselves. They're insecure about themselves and they are projecting, and they are telling you that you are bad at something, or like they're criticizing everything about it, when nothing of what they're criticizing actually is true. They're pointing out flaws in you that don't exist. You should respond, even within yourself. You don't have to say anything to them. Within yourself, you should think, no, I'm perfect. And these people are just doing this because they're projecting and they are trying to bring you down because they hate you and they envy you and they are insecure about themselves. And perhaps in most cases, these criticisms or these flaws are actually true about them. The people who are throwing that kind of criticism and judgment in your face or toward you. You shouldn't generalize the statement of being perfect to encompass everything under the sun. It doesn't have to come to your competence, your experience level, how good you are at anything that you do. I have no problem with admitting that I don't have what it takes at some stuff. This is not negative self-talk. If you really have very high self-esteem when it comes to what you should always meet in terms of standards or how successful you should be at the moment, you will always be reluctant to not meet this standard, which means now your perfectionism will actually start holding you back and will make you hesitate before doing anything. You will procrastinate. You will not do it until you're ready, and you will wait for years until you become ready because you think you have to meet those delusional standards that you've set for yourself. That's why you will never be ready. It's not because you're lazy. if you procrastinate, you'll take like a week but you're taking years. You've been procrastinating for like 12 or 15 years at this point. When are you going to do it? When you're over 70? Tell me, when are you going to do it? Here is not a problem of laziness. You are not too lazy, or you're not a procrastinator here. You're not even avoiding stress. You are trying to not prove to yourself or realize that the standards that you've set for yourself are delusional and they are not grounded in reality. Anything that you'll do will serve as evidence that makes you question whether or not you really are supposed to have that kind of high self-esteem and high sense of importance and self-worth and self-image that you think you have or deserve. Whenever something tends to question your delusions, you tend to fight it back with all your strength. You use your energy in other ways that proves that you have energy, like you watch TV for 8 hours. How come you don't have energy to do something that takes 15 minutes? So here we're talking about limiting beliefs. We are talking about you being afraid to burst your own bubble.